I grew up in the church, and I mean in the church all the time. I never felt valuable enough for my partners, for the people around me. I was very into Botox and the ways of this world. But I started having this very deep knowing and understanding. There was something more that I could not see, but I knew that that something more was in here, and it was not to be found out there. What is beautiful about me is my heart, my soul, my journey, the lessons that I have. I now know abundance to be something completely different. Abundance is peace, joy, fulfillment from inside. So success to me means being happy, authentic in who you are, shining just as you are today. I am who I am and have always been enough. That is success. That is abundance. I believe we're here to grow, evolve, and help each other do the same thing in love. In love. I love love. That's why we're here, to love. True freedom comes from surrendering control, from surrendering that you know nothing about this experience. So everything serves a divine purpose, everything. We all have this God particle in us, this God source, because we come from this. So by that logic, we are also these divine little beings just walking around this earth, thinking that we are these electromagnetic humans. That is where my true awakening took place.
Hello, dear world, dear new listeners, dear reoccurring listeners. Welcome to another episode of the Oliver Schirach Show and to this second part of my longer interview with Trina. And in this second part, we get to talk about what is our purpose in life, what is abundance, and how does success look like to Trina. We also got to talk about her early life where she didn't feel enough for the world or for her partners, and by that being engrossed by the material world and Botox and other things. How religion plays a big part in her life and how she connects up with spirituality, angel numbers, sun gazing, the different stages of her awakening, and the different gifts that opened up to her during those different stages, such as empathy, intuition, clairaudience, clairvoyance, or cymetics, images in the water. And also about how the body can help you and much more. Please don't forget to leave some comments and likes and shares so I know what you liked about the interview and where I can improve. Thank you so much.
Okay, but then let's go. There's like the two paths I have. One was like religion, because you're Latino, Hispanic. Then I think of Catholic, but you've been adopted.
Yeah.
And a lot of time with the people, like my two Texas friends, I talked. One of them I talk a lot. She's in Georgia now.
Wow.
Yeah, at her middle son, I think. And the other one I interviewed for my podcast. So their religion has been a big part of their trauma. The Roman Catholic Church and the masculinity and the suppression and the belief sets and this is right, this is wrong. How has it been for you?
Oh, thank you for asking me. Thank you. And can I just tell you how synchronistic? I was born in San Antonio, Texas. That's where I'm from. And I got adopted in Georgia. So, wow. Very interesting. I grew up Roman Catholic, right? That's like, and I don't say grow up after I got adopted because that's my life prior to being adopted. With my birth family, they were Roman Catholic. Matter of fact, when I was in foster care, I lived in a convent for a time before I was even put into a permanent foster care system. But I will tell you, a lot of people have a lot of a trauma because of their religion. My religion is what has brought me to my own religion, my own self, finding the divinity within myself. So I went from Roman Catholic to being adopted into a Caucasian family that was Southern Baptist. Do you know about them?
No, I'm Swiss, so I'm sometimes when I listen to this American podcasts and talks about the Roman Catholic, I'm like, yeah, of course, the Roman Catholic is from Rome.
Right.
And it's in Rome, Catholic Church, and then there's the Southern Baptist and everything. So I'm a Lutheran, I think,
Ouch.
from because Luther was teaching it was in Germany, and he was reforming the Catholic Church. And then there's now the French one, which was in Geneva, is the other one. But so in Switzerland, we have a lot of Reformation because of
Well,
Luther and the other one.
yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about the Southern Baptists.
Well, let me tell you, Southern Baptist is a very, very, very strict denomination. Okay. So there's no dancing, things like that kind of strict. Very,
Oh,
very strict on like what you can, the things you should do, the things you shouldn't do. And I will say, there has been this part of me. I love these types of questions because this is what gets me going. Religion and this awakening, because my religion has been a huge part of my awakening. So as a child, going through the things that I went through, I have always, I told you, I crave like a father figure, right? That I know that to be the divine part of me craving my Father who art in heaven, or however anyone wants to say it. As a child, even before I was adopted, I always wanted to go to church. I was always drawn to churches. I was always drawn to religion. Um, and when I was adopted and I went into this Southern Baptist household, I loved it. I thrived off of it. I didn't see anything wrong with it. I didn't feel constrained by it. It was very almost like a freeing thing for me to be led, because I require being led. Even to this day, I love being led. And so I grew up in the church, and I mean, kingdom kid is what we call it here in America, somebody who is in the church all the time. So Wednesday night, Sunday night, I was in choir. It just played such a huge role in my life because it brought so much healing to me. But when I was a senior in high school, I was 18 years old. I took a course called World Religion. And oh my gosh, I was in heaven. I got to learn about Zoroastrians. I got to learn about Buddhism, all of the things. And holy smokes, my mom didn't like that. But I loved it because I was like, wait a minute. This is what I've been searching for my whole life. I knew there was not just one way. There's got to be other things. And I knew it, this deep sense of knowing. And that is where, a lot of my desire to understand, know thyself came about. I mean, it was like this whole world opened up to me. And I remember, like, at that point in time in my life, I wanted to be a missionary. I didn't even want to go to college. I wanted to go to Jamaica. I had already been on a mission trip. Well, and I knew even to this day, I want to serve in another country. This is not my last stop. And so I began exploring that. And as a result of leaving home as an 18-year-old, not only did I leave home in the literal sense, I left home in the religious sense as well, where I was like, okay, there's more out there and I'm going to find it. And that's where it started. And I told you, I got married. I began having children. I describe myself as the prodigal daughter, because my story is so much bigger than you even realize. I got married. That relationship, it was a relationship where I was running from something rather than to something. And as a result, I knew I needed to leave that marriage. He was my best friend, but I knew it was not my path. And I lost my mother, right? And as a result of losing my mother, giving up my daughter for adoption, I almost rebuked God and religion. And I was like, you know what? If you were real, you wouldn't let these things happen to me. I was going through a dark night of the soul, if you will. I turned my back to religion entirely. And this is going from being very involved with religion to saying, nope, this is not for me. I knew it. I knew this life is all about pain. Everybody was right. I look foolish for following something that I cannot see. And so because of that, I don't want anything to do with religion. And that's where I was. And I say that 5 years ago, that's where I was. I got remarried, and that marriage was a very, it was not a good relationship physically, spiritually, mentally. Every bit of it was what you would call abusive. And because I was in this state of awakening, I mean, truly awakening. I mean, I was awakening to my spiritual gifts. I was awakening to the ways of the world, spiritual warfare. Um, I found the divinity within me. I found religion, but in a different way. I started going into Wicca. I felt my best being natural. I'm a Leo, so I was very into Botox and the ways of this world. But I started having this very deep knowing and understanding as I delve into Wicca that there was something more. There was something more that I could not see, but I knew that that something more was in here and it was not to be found out there. And so that is where my true awakening took place, was after and during this relationship. I started understanding that religion is not found on the outside of us, that it is truly found on the inside of us. And through nature, through connecting with earth, through connecting with self-accountability, with connecting with our own traumas, is where religion is found. That's where religion is found. That it is not this idea that we must go to a church. And don't get me wrong, I started going to church again too. I started going back to church, and this was only about 8 months ago. But as I found myself in church, I found myself understanding yet again that the church is in me. So I'll let you go and ask some questions based off of that,
Well, yes,
because it's a lot.
yes, there's a lot, and it's awesome. It's so you were married early 20s, and so that's when the adoption kit was like within that marriage, and then you got married and got more kids, and that was the physical abuse. Because I've seen in your Instagram that you said you were reduced to yeah, you're not good enough. So that was the second marriage. So that's when you got Botox lips. I don't know what else. Materialistic world.
Yes, all the things. Well,
But you didn't do these things before. That only happened in the second marriage, or how was that?
well, I did. I actually started doing Botox and stuff in my first marriage, near the end of the first marriage. But I started doing that because I felt, remember I told you I felt so out of place in my skin all the time. I felt out of place. I just never felt good enough. I never felt valuable enough for my partners, for the people around me. And my solution to that was to get Botox, to dye my hair all black, to look, sound, and follow like everybody else. And so it started near the end of my first marriage. And then I started having these awakenings, but as a result of the partner I was with, who is very, very worldly, and there's nothing wrong with that. I want to preface the whole segment with, there is nothing wrong with living in the ways of the world, because it serves a purpose. Every stage of our life serves a purpose. So I don't look at other people who get Botox and lip injections and have breast implants and things like this. I don't look at those people and think, oh, I'm better than you, or oh my gosh, you're so lost. I don't think of people like that. I look at these people and I get excited for them, and I love them more, and I honor and I cherish them, because I know where they are and I know it serves a purpose. And I love to see everybody in every stage of life, in every color of the rainbow, right? Because that's all it is. It's just another color of the rainbow. So, and it's beautiful, right? It's all beautiful. So in my second marriage, my last marriage I was in, I started to really alter my appearance even more because my partner was very, very worldly. It was all about money and status and this job and these clothes and what your body looks like. And I got very consumed with that because I just wanted to be accepted by my partner. I just wanted him to love me. And I hold myself now as I say that because I feel so bad that I felt I needed to do those things to feel loved and accepted. When in actuality, I was just wanting to love myself, and I couldn't see that at the time, And so I didn't, to we'll get into it at some point, I'm sure. I didn't leave that marriage. I didn't leave that marriage because I believe in unconditional love. I believe in unconditional forgiveness and seeing people as they are, meeting them where they are. But as I left that marriage, when he divorced me, I had this understanding and this awakening, if you will, that I am that I am, and I have always been enough. And so I stopped dyeing my hair. I stopped getting Botox. I started eating in the ways that I believe I was intended to eat all along for 39 years, which is raw food sourced from the sun. And I started understanding that I am beautiful. I am so beautiful. And it is not this skin suit that makes me beautiful. It is not the color of my hair. It is not the lack of wrinkles that makes me beautiful. It's the wrinkles that make me beautiful. But beyond that, right? Because this is wisdom. This is wise. This is wise. But beyond the surface level, this is nothing but a skin suit. This is an earth suit. And it serves a purpose to keep me safe and supported in this reality and nothing more. What is beautiful about me is my heart, my soul, my journey, the lessons that I have, the wisdom that I carry, and the light that I am. Because when I sit authentically in a space of being me, embracing me for every bit of my story, the good, the bad, the very, very chaotic, when I sit in those spaces, my light shines brighter than any line that could be taken away, than any, breast size or waist size. What is beautiful about me is here. That is what shines. That is why light is one of my words.
Yes. Wow. And I definitely can see that when you say the worldly and that you cherish the people and you love them even more because you have been there. So as you said, it serves a purpose. You learned the lesson. I don't know if everyone
Yes.
learns the lesson, but for you, it was like you said many, many times in the talk we had so far that you didn't feel you fit in. You didn't feel comfortable in the skin. So you started making the changes just to realize actually it is good the way it is.
Yeah.
And you said the first marriage you were running away, not running to. And it's kind of like the best friend. And the second marriage sounded me a lot of the abuse you shared from your birth mother and whatever else happened, and the lack of a man. So
Yes.
you looked for a strong man, whatever our society says a strong man is, whatever successful, has the money, has the big car, has all these things.
Yes. Yes. And that's exactly what I was doing because my partner, who at the time, I wish him all the love that there is and forgiveness, but he was a very worldly person, and I felt at the time that I just wanted safety and security. I just wanted to feel protected. And because the world does such a great job of preaching that money in a home, in a nice house, and a nice car, and a lot of money in the account, the world perceives that as abundance. If you were to ask somebody on the street today, hey, what does success look like to you? Most people, I would say, would probably say, oh, yeah, probably like a 6-figure, job, a Tesla, which I had. These things are desirable. So, yes, this is safety. This is security. Somebody who can't lose their job, who can provide for you. And I'm going to tell you now, That has never mattered to me. I mean, it mattered to me in the sense that the world told me that's what would keep me safe. And I thought that's what would keep my soul safe. But I now know abundance to be something completely different. My life today is so abundant. So I'm a tarot card reader. And the card that comes to mind is the 10 of Cups. Why? Because it is a wish fulfillment card. There is a rainbow in the back of that card. There's the husband, the wife, the dog, the 2 kids. And that right there is, to me, that's abundance. I don't need the money. I don't want the money. I don't want the jewelry. I don't want the nice house and the car. You know what abundance looks like to me? Abundance looks like peace. Abundance looks like joy and not from some exterior circumstance. Abundance is peace, joy, fulfillment from inside, from learning what this experience is truly about, and then going and using your gifts to turn other people's lights on. That's what abundance looks like to me. Peace, love, knowing thyself. Because when you can do that, when you can shine from an authentic space, the people who are meant to be in your life, the divine men, as I call them, divine masculine, not high value, because the world likes to preach high value men. No. To me, a divine masculine is a man who understands these concepts, that they are led through the divine, and that is how they protect their feminine, not through money, but by the divine's purpose and guidance. That to me is the type of man that will eventually come into my life. But I'm not looking.
Wow, you answered questions I had in my head, or touch up on questions I had in my head, which so often happens when I interview. I have to be careful with what I'm sending out to my guests through my thoughts.
Well,
Because one of the questions which is floating there and should be on my to ask questions is, what does success look to you now? I mean, you shared what others or what you believe others say. But what is success to you? Is it abundance, or you want to elaborate on that differently?
yeah. So success to me, let's start it like this. 2 years ago, a year ago, if you would have asked me what does success look like, I would have said exactly what I just told you. It would be a nice house, a 6-figure job, a beautiful car that works, right? These are the things I would have said are successful. Today, as I am, September 27th at 12:21. Beautiful. Oh, beautiful.
Oh, 12:21. Yes, night number.
Divine is always speaking for us. Always, always. Oh, I love it. Today, as I sit here before you now, my friend, success looks like what I'm doing right now. Oh, I could cry. I'm very emotional, by the way. So, success is walking through the hardest times in your life and saying, I didn't know that I could do this. I don't even know what the destination, with the path, with the journey. I take it back. I know what the destination is. I don't know what the path looks like to get there, but I know that the destination is peace. I know that the destination is love. I know that the destination is shining my light so that others can see me, so that they can see themselves. Oof. Because I want people to love themselves as much as I know I can love me. Because I never knew that I could love me like this. I never knew that I could sit before you now, because I've grown up with body dysmorphic disorder my whole life, where I look at myself in a mirror and I don't like what I see. I never knew that I could look at myself now in this camera pane and say, oh my gosh, she's beautiful. Not because of this, but because of this, because of what she's gone through, because of how she still chooses to shine, how she still chooses to love. That's success. Success is saying, you know what, I've gone through some really bad things, but I am no longer going to say, well, this is an excuse for me to be a really mean person to these people, or this is an excuse for me to say, hey, I will never ever again try to love people again because people are mean. They are inherently bad. They hurt other people. But you know what? The nature of humans is just that. But why? Because the nature of humans is to learn, to grow, to evolve. That's why we're here. So again, the rainbow, we love, like we go through all of these phases of life, and every single phase serves a purpose. And every single phase is beautiful because without every single moment of life, without the bad and the chaotic and the ugly and the messy and the scary, we can't all be yellow. We can't all be yellow. We all have to have these different colors and represent these different colors so that we can shine our most authentic way. So success to me means being happy, authentic in who you are, shining just as you are today. I am who I am, and it has always been enough. That is success. That is abundance.
Part number 2, we had a short break, and we come from what does it mean to be authentic and success. And one of my questions I wrote down, what is the purpose of life? We touched upon that as well, right? It's to be...
What is the purpose of life? Yes, I believe the purpose of life is exactly what you and I are doing right here, truly. I believe that the purpose of life is not to be running a rat race. I don't believe in, again, I'm a very different person. I don't believe as women, as for me personally, that my job is to go stress out about a job or stress out about how much money I'm supposed to make or what I'm supposed to be, look like as a 39-year-old mother or woman. I believe the purpose of life is to connect with other humans, to grow, to evolve, so that we don't have to keep coming back and doing the same old game all the time. And if you know anything about like life path numbers, I'm life path number 9. This is my last time here. So either I get it or I won't, and I get it.
Oh.
So I believe, I believe we're here to grow, evolve, and help each other do the same thing in love. In love. I love love. That's why we're here, to love.
Wow. Yeah. Colin just shared me, he said, yeah, my life number is number 5 and blah, blah, blah. And that was just before we talked. And now you come with the like number.
Yes.
So I think mine is number 6, but I'm not sure. I just did it fast in my head. But I've been told this is the last time, 2 times. Actually, Gene Keys basically says this is my last time. And my yoga teacher told me 5 years ago, my goodness, in 2019, it was the first time I went to yoga. I knew him before from 2016, 17. So finally I managed to go to his class. And in the first class at the end, we talked. You're like, oh, it's great that you're here. He looked at me like, oh, this is the last time you're reincarnating. I'm like, what? I just start to re-believe in these things. And it's just like, boom, last time. And Gene Keys says something similar. When I look at my Gene Keys, it's like the angel cross of whatever. It's just basically the same. It's kind of like realization, the total realization of reality. I'm far from it. I'm far from it. It's very mental. It's not much experiential for me. So I think that's when I make this path and I start to experience stuff. It will shift.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because one of the other questions I had was also this. You talked about you had spiritual gifts from very young on, and they expanded and grew with different awakenings. So what kind of spiritual gifts do you remember having as a child?
So as a child, and here's what I'll say about this. Everybody is empathetic. Everybody. And most people think, oh, no, that's more of a woman's thing. Absolutely not. Nope. We all have spiritual gifts. That's one thing. But I have always been very empathetic. That was the first thing I used to really, really recall about myself. So I used to always tell people growing up, oh, when you cry, I can literally feel it. And so that's my superpower, or I can feel you. And I never knew that was a thing. I thought like everybody could do that. Or I thought everybody felt like that. Like when they see somebody cry, it makes them sad too. But I started to understand, like, yeah, other people feel sad too, but like when I walk into a room, I don't have to know anybody in the room. I can feel them. And I remember it being really weird and really almost scary at certain times because I'd started like it would if you don't have a really good grasp of your emotions, and of course as a child, who does? I remember it being very, very off-putting for me because I would be very happy and then I would go into a room and become very, very sad. And, the world will call that depression. It's not. It's called empathy. And so I remember being very, very weirded out by that. But again, as I've gotten older, I've started to educate myself on some of those things. But not only, educate myself, more and more gifts have continued to open up as I've gotten older.
Okay, so what kind of other gifts do you opened up, and how did they come? Do you remember? I mean, you said I had this feeling. All these different stages you shared with us, like going to your mom, there was some kind of awakening when she came from prison, or when you reached out, when you got divorced, when you got pregnant from from being with another man, that was kind of waking you up. Being together with your last husband waking you up. So there's like a lot of these awakening stages. And
Yeah.
were they followed
Yep.
with gifts opening up, or?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really, really interesting. And I hope that this will help some people out there because I had no clue about any of the physical symptoms too of awakening spiritual gifts. So as a child, again, I was very empathetic. And then when I got adopted is really when I started feeling people. That's when I would start going into rooms and feeling other people's emotions. Well, as I got older, probably as I started having children, that's when that becoming intuitive really opened up. Because being intuitive and being empathetic are two different things. Empathy is just quite literally being able to feel other people. Intuitive is where you just know things and you don't know how you know them, but you do. Some people will call that clairsentient. But that started as I became an adult. That gift got progressively stronger. Like I would just know when things were off with people around me. I also have the gift of discernment. I'm not trying to be like, oh my God, I'm so cool, but I have a lot of gifts. So when I got into my first marriage, I started to understand I had the gift of discernment. I could understand when somebody was telling me something that maybe it wasn't true, or maybe they could say, hey, I'm okay. But then I could feel them. So I knew that they weren't. And I could discern what was true and what wasn't. And that wasn't always like a negative sense. My discernment started getting stronger at that point. I will say my last partner, when I was with them, I was able to find different things out because of this gift of discernment and intuition. My guides, they never lie. Okay. They always, will speak to me in ways that I can understand through numbers, through feelings, through other people discerning how they're feeling. And I started this last year getting very tired all the time. And I've always been kind of a tired person, but I mean, all the time. And then I started getting really hot. And this is the most bizarre one of them of all. And the world would be like, oh, girl, you're just, you're getting hot flashes. No, it's not hot flashes. I started getting very hot when I would start understanding things about people. So if I was having a conversation with you and you're telling me something that I know is not accurate, or I felt something different coming from your energy, I would get very hot. Or if I was having a conversation with a friend and we started talking about things that I was very passionate about, like things like this, like self-development and growth, and things that I didn't go to college. I don't know anything about I know about the Bible, but I don't really know anything about like the spiritual world per se. But I started having these like understandings, downloads, as I call them. And I would be in mid-conversation with people and I would get really hot, overwhelmingly hot. And I have never sweat a day in my life until this last year. I would start telling them things about themselves. I would tell them things, give them advice that they didn't ask for, but that they were thinking in their own minds at the time. And I would get really, really hot. I would start sweating. It was really weird. And then over the last few months, I started having ringing in my ears. And I at first I didn't pay attention to it because a lot of us, if we're not eating correctly, if we are living in very worldly ways, we won't pay attention to our bodies. But our bodies are always trying to communicate with us. The divine is always communicating through our bodies. And as I started to really eat better and understand and know myself better, I would start picking up on, oh, my left ear is ringing, and something I would start understanding it to be a warning of some sort. And I promise you, every single time my left ear would ring, something I needed to pay attention to would be very significant, would be happening, and it would happen. And so then I would start paying attention to what ear was ringing, and then I would pay attention to the thing going on around me. And now I know when my right ear rings, it means to pay attention to something that's happening, and it's a good thing. When both ears ring, it's like my guides are trying to tell me something. So I have the gift of clairvoyance, clairsentience. I can smell things and discern things, which I know is very strange. That is a new thing that has opened up this year within the last few months, and a gift that has opened up in the last 3 months. This is going to be probably one of the most bizarre things you've ever heard. I had no clue what this was, but I sun gaze a lot. I've sun gazed for about a year now. And I have been sun gazing. I've been meditating. This was about 3 months ago, maybe 3 months ago. No, it was about a month ago. I was making a pitcher of sun water. I don't know if you know what that is, but I only drink water that is from the sun. So sun water is water that has been restructured through the sun. So if you pour water from your tap, it's just still water. It's dead water. And so what you want to do is you either want to put lemon into it to alkalize it, or you want to go put it in the sun so that the sun can restructure the water itself. So I put a pitcher of water in glass every day under the sun, and I let it cook, if you will, under the sun, and then I drink. I drink it warm. I never drink cold water. I only drink warm water. So I was picking up this pitcher of water, and I'm looking at the water after I had been meditating for some time under the sun. And I look in this water, and I see something. And I'm like, what the heck is that? Is there a bug in my water? Because it's like, it's moving, but in a very like graceful way, but it's moving out of the way every time I focus on it. You're the first person I've told this to. So this is kind of outside of one other friend. I'm looking at this water and I see almost like a glimmering silver pattern, if you will, in the water. And it's like moving, and I'm standing over some concrete. So I'm like, oh, maybe it's like a bug under the concrete is like moving. So I go stand in the grass and I'm like looking in this water pitcher, and I still see it. It's like this beautiful silver pattern, and it's moving, but it's moving out of the way every time I look at it. And I start thinking, oh my God, I'm going crazy. I'm losing it. Something's wrong with my eyesight. I've been sun gazing too long. So it was just the most strange thing. And I didn't tell anybody about it because I was worried people would think I was nuts. A shame thing, okay?
Yes.
And so I have a friend who is very spiritual like I am. And so I call her up and I'm like, girl, am I going crazy? Is like, I see something in my water. What? Like, and she's like, well, what is it? And I tell her, well, it's like silver. It's got this weird pattern. It almost looks like a computer chip, but it's like in a wavy line and it's moving around in the water. And she's like, Trina, that sounds like cymetics. And I was like, what? What is that? Never even heard of it. And she's like, it's like the something about like the structure, the science of the frequency of water. And she's like, water holds memory. And I knew this. And I know the importance of speaking good things over your water. I speak affirmations over my water every day. But she's like, Trina, water holds memory. Like, go back and look at the water and like try to remember something. And I was like, what? That's a little weird for me even. But and I figured maybe something's wrong with my eyesight and with her too. I don't know. But we're always connected very deeply with music. So cymetics, music, water. So I go and I get this pitcher of water and I dump it all out. And I'm like, we're going to start all over again because something's wrong with this water. So I go in and get more water. Same thing. I start seeing it again. And so then I start buying water from the store, a different brand of water. Same thing. And I use tap water. Same thing. Same images. Now I know it to be, you know what? I can't tell you exactly what I know it to be. I know it has something to do with cymetics. I know it has something to do with my gifts. But this is another gift that, again, is opening up. And what I want to say to anybody who is going to listen to this is the key and the secret to opening up your gifts is believing in them. When you start doubting the divine, when you start doubting the gifts that he, she, whatever you want to name it, is giving to you, you send out a frequency that I don't trust you, I don't believe you, and I don't trust what you're doing in my life. So I'm going to choose to think that I'm nuts. I'm going to choose to think this is weird. I'm going to choose to feel shame, that I can hear your thoughts, that I can hear what you're thinking, that I can feel you, that I can see things in my water. When you send that frequency out, then you tell the divine, well, I don't trust you. And then the divine says, well, I don't trust you. So I'm going to move on and give it to somebody else who will trust me, who will live out this purpose, this plan I have for you. And the more that I have trusted in the divine, the more that I have trusted in myself, the more gifts have opened up to me. And it's been beautiful, amazing, wild journey.
Wow. The more that you have trusted, the more the gifts opened up. And it fits a bit to what what's his name? Greg Braden talks about as well, with the different gifts, like music or a book or a story or whatever. It's in you, and if you want to perfectionize, and suddenly another one comes up. And I don't know if it was Greg Braden sharing it, but a Harry Potter story. Another woman was apparently writing a similar story, and there was like one chapter, which was exactly the same as in Harry Potter. Before it was released, they wrote it in the same time, apparently.
Because we're connected.
Yeah, we're all connected, and it's kind of crazy. You're like, this is bullshit. She just makes it up and whatever. But that's of course, if you live very materialistic, very egoistic, where it's me, I'm the one creating and nothing else, because I'm so special. I'm separate. I'm different, right? And I think that's also part of the whole destruction of the world. If it's even a destruction, I'm getting more and more to the point where I say, nothing that happens in the world is caused by us, really. As long as Mother Earth allows it, it will happen. So we are not caught, we are part of the game. And that's the fun part, being in the spiritual world, talking to different people with different experiences. I had some near-death experience on my show, and I had some other people with out-of-body experiences. And the stories are similar but different. And that's the fun part. Actually, from my interviews, I realize when I listen to other podcasts, the stories are very similar a lot of times, and the experience. But the few near-death experiences I interviewed, it's different, each of them. So, but basically, it's like canon, the photography canon says, the world is a playground, I think, something like that. I think it's their slogan.
Yes.
And I think this is what it is, right? It's being in your authentic self, finding out who you are, and play the game and have fun about it. And realizing you're part of a bigger game, a bigger picture, and connected in some ways. You don't have to understand, at least. Yeah. And for me, myself, it's like what you said, the more you trust, the more the gifts are opening. I think it's also my trust, which is lacking. My sense of need to control, even though I know I have no control.
Well, things we all struggle with. We all want to control the things that happen around us, because when we control the things that happen around us, we have this false sense of security that we can control the things that happen to us. But when my favorite thing, the thing that I have learned in this life, in this stage of my life, is that nothing happens to you. Nothing. But things happen for you. They happen for you, but nothing's happening to you. And that's where true freedom comes. True freedom comes from surrendering control, from surrendering that you know nothing about this experience. I know nothing about this experience. I know myself. I know what the divine wants and has for me, but I can't control anything here. I can just join along for the ride and go with the flow, or I can fight against the flow and just be like always trying to go upstream. And that's what you do when you try to control things, you know? And it's only when we truly surrender our thoughts, when we surrender everything that we expect about this life, like you surrender people's judgments, the way that they see you, the way they view you, the way your life is supposed to look. I'm 39. I have 5 kids. I am not supposed to be married twice, according to the world standards, right? But we don't know anything. All of these things serve purpose, divine purpose to get us to where we are. If I hadn't had those things happen to me, I wouldn't be where I am at 12:54 talking to you today. I just wouldn't. So everything serves a divine purpose, everything.
Yeah, and we sometimes, as I already said, try to know and understand instead of just enjoying it. And as I said, I know intellectually, I'm very intellectually based, but that's the path. Looking at my human design again, my astrology, my Ayurvedic, because I'm Tridoshic, so I'm on fire, water, where it's all balanced or should be balanced, but my air is not balanced. I have too much air. Now I'm living in Denmark. I don't expect you to know anything about Denmark. And you're not even European. But anyway, it's very windy. So there's a lot of air, right? So there's a lot of air. And I'm like, I came here and I'm disbalanced in my air because where I live, there's a lot of air. And it's triggering me. It's annoying me. When it's windy, I'm getting so angry. But it's for me to learn to be in balance and harmony within myself, with my design, my architecture, the avatar, the skin suit, the flesh, the meat piece, as my yoga teacher says. As I came here and chose to play the game, right? If I play Mario's warrior games, I choose to be Wario or Mario or Luigi, and they have different talents. And I can do certain things. Or we play a lot of Lego games, on the computer, adventures and all these. So you have the different characters. So normally the girls can scream, at least in Jurassic Park, and they can jump higher than the man. But the men are better in destroying things, right? So I can try to be the woman, but I'm a man, so I will not jump as high as the woman or scream as loud and open the windows by screaming. It's finding out, as you said, being your authentic self, finding your gifts, finding your into tools and what you should bring to the world. So that's beautiful. I have here Trinity within, because you shared something before we had the short break, that you said you felt the Trinity within you. And I just wrote it down. So how do you feel that within you, or how do you realize that it's inside you?
The divinity, I always say that. I heard a friend of mine, I want to tell you this really quick before I answer that. I made a friend recently, at the beginning of this year, who taught me so much. And he always says about, if you can't see the divinity in me, you're blind. And I don't know why that has always stuck with me. And I started to realize and see that in myself once I realized I am not perfect. I'm not perfect, and I'm not meant to be perfect. If I was meant to be perfect, I wouldn't be here playing the game, as you put it. I wouldn't be here. I would be done up there or out there. I don't know where we're at, where we're going, but wherever that is, that's where I would be. The divinity in me is understanding that we are a God as well. So here's what I always say, and this will resonate for you because you're a father, you're a parent. If you look at your children, And you see, like for me, I have a daughter who is very shy. She's very quiet. She's very reserved. She's very observant. She's always watching. That is all of who she is. But that is only a small piece of my personality. I have another daughter who is so opposite of that. And she's just like off the wall. And she is, I mean, she's a lot. That is all of who she is. But that is but a small part of my personality, right? I have all these little things that make up a big part of like who I am, all of who Trina is. But these small parts of me were passed down to my children, and it makes up all of who they are. So if you take that same concept and you apply it to God, source, whatever you choose to call it, that is what we are, right? So we are all of us, but we are a small piece of that. So by that logic, I too am a God. Just that's what I mean when I say seeing the divinity in me. I am human for all intents and purposes because I have this, right? I have this. I've got these emotions. I come equipped with all of the full spectrum of emotion. That is what makes me a human. But what makes me divine is who this is. My ability to understand and transcend the world. That's what makes me divine. That's what I mean when I say seeing the divinity in me. So my friend, he always used to say, again, if you don't see the divinity in me, you're blind. And he doesn't mean that from like a worldly mean sense, a judgmental sense, just that real recognizes real, and that we are all divine beings, every one of us. While we are humans, we all have this God particle in us, this God source, because we come from this. So by that logic, we are also that. We are also these divine little beings just walking around this earth, thinking that we are these electromagnetic humans, HUE, humans. Well, when we're not at all. And part of this experience, part of playing this game, part of making these little pacts with each other and coming back down to earth and reincarnating time after time to play the game is to see who can get to the finish line and remember who they are first. So they don't have to come back and do this all the time, you know? So that's what I mean when I say seeing the divinity, playing this game, remembering, surrendering so that we can remember who we are.